As very highly requested, today I'll be reviewing the IBM Data Science Professional Certificate, probably the best known Coursera certificate on data science out there. It is professional, so it's from IBM. If you get the certificate from IBM, it says on your LinkedIn, IBM respects you because you did this, and it's something that's very important. Okay, and no, I'm not just going to give them a 10 out of 10 because of that. I am going to be giving these three ratings: relevant skills / tools, so is it Python, is the right kind of data science environment; presentation, so how is the material presented; and popularity, so how well do employers know this thing, how well do other people happen to like this thing. These three, which are all out of 10, I'm going to, well, automatically here, you can see it's equals average of these things. So we are going to get an average of these three, and this will be my overall rating of hands-on skills, presentation of the material, and popularity of the course. All right, so let's get right into it. So kickstart your career in data science and machine learning. Notice it doesn't say deep learning. Okay, you will find this out for sure later when we talk about this. Build data science skills, learn Python and SQL. Okay, it's great that it's SQL as well. Analyze and visualize data, build machine learning models. No degree or prior experience required. Okay, so can you jump into this thing no matter who the heck you are? Yes, you can, okay? And it's actually not that much money, so hopefully a lot of you guys should be able to pick this up. I do have a link in the description down below if you want to. Okay, so learn what data science is, the various activities of a data scientist job. That's actually great because a lot of courses and stuff aren't going to talk about what data scientists actually do. This is, as a recurring theme you will see, it's very focused towards getting a job in data science, okay? It's definitely about the skills as well, learning the right skills, but it's very focused on learning the right skills to get a very common data science job. Okay, so develop hands-on skills using tools, languages, and libraries used by the professional data scientist. So it sounds like it's the right environment so far. Import and clean data sets, analyze and visualize data, and build and evaluate machine learning models. Okay, so this is huge that it's doing this too. Building and evaluating machine learning models, which is the really modern stuff to get a job right now and get a lot of money in your job. Apply various data science skills, of course, techniques and tools to complete a project and publish a report. Okay, a lot of people think that reports are a little bit boring for some reason, but they're extremely important in business. Like pretty much everybody needs, every employer higher up needs a report like every day, every week, every month. So very important to be able to do this. So the skills in general, data science, of course, Python, good. Data analysis, pandas, NumPy, IPython. Okay, so for those that don't know, pandas and NumPy are very, very popular Python libraries. For pandas does like tabular data, and which just means in a table. And NumPy can do tabular data, but really it does more dimensions than that, like matrices, which is a table, but then, arrays of matrices, that kind of thing. Okay, so IPython just means interactive Python. It's the same as like Jupyter environment. Cloud databases is really great that it's going to go into this because like extremely in-demand skill, and most courses are not going to touch upon this at all. So getting this as part of the certificate is huge. It's extremely, extremely important to be able to understand these things, not just cloud in general, but especially cloud databases is very common and underrated skill. RBDMS is, well, you need to understand that to do cloud databases. You need to understand that to do databases in general. SQL, that is to pull data from databases, very, very important. Predictive modeling, great machine learning skill. Data visualization, I don't know, data viz. Basically, yeah, just the common graphs and that kind of way to understand what data looks like is a very important skill to build. And picking the right model, picking the right machine learning model. Okay, so I'm not going to read all of this for sure, but they bolded stuff, so I will read what they bolded. For those pursuing a career in data science, okay, yeah, I kind of mentioned that, like it's going to be a recurring theme. This is really geared towards getting a job. No prior knowledge of computer science or programming languages required. Okay, no matter who the heck you are, you can jump into this. The latest job-ready tools and skills. Okay, so the modern skills that you want to be learning. Digital badge from IBM recognizing your proficiency in everything. Okay, so in all of data science, IBM is going to say, okay, you've done this professional certificate. I have this on my LinkedIn, and people actually know these things. Okay, a lot of employers really do respect this one. I'm not going to say something like, if you have this, you will get a job. I'm going to say it increases your probability. I'm a data scientist too. It definitely increases your probability of getting a job if you do have this certificate on there. Okay, so applied learning project, Jupyter/Jupyter Lab. Yep. GitHub RStudio, Watson Studio. Okay, we'll talk about this later when we look at what course that's from. Pandas, NumPy, Matplotlib, Seaborn, Folium. Actually, haven't heard of Folium. Python, IPython SQL, Scikit-learn, and SciPy. Okay, so let's just jump right into the courses and see what it's talking about. So, what is data science? Well, it's really good to start there and actually think about why they're doing some of these things, which is, getting an overall feel before jumping into like linear regression or something like that. Okay, so of course, a lot of views on this course, which is very important. Going right into the syllabus, we can just look pretty much exactly what they're going to do. So you will view the course syllabus to learn what will be taught in the course. So it feels very professional. And let's look at how they're all 2 minutes. Okay, I'm going to zoom in case that's a little bit small. What is data science? 2 minutes, fundamentals of data science. That is really how to captivate people, is to just, shove your information in a quick video and then leave you wanting more, and you will. So you'll really enjoy just jumping through these videos, the many paths to data science, a day in the life of a data scientist. Great, like that's awesome. They throw that in there. And then data science solutions, problems, old stuff. Okay, so they're kind of giving you the history a little bit as to how it turned into the modern. Topics and algorithms, you can't talk too much about algorithms in 3 minutes, but they're just getting you warmed up. And a little bit about how the cloud works, okay? So there's some readings and there's some practice exercises. So these are great. I honestly think people undervalue them. Is just, checking your skills, even if they're kind of easy. It really forces you to have actually read the content, or at least understand what it is before moving on. And so take your time, make sure that you're getting these right and you understand why. All right, so in these 8 videos, so foundations of big data, what is Hadoop? All right, it's interesting that already they're getting into this in just the second week is Hadoop, and so the storage and retrieval of mass amounts of data. All right, data science, it does need this kind of big data, except this is a different topic, is of big data in general. It's still extremely important, and I'm not putting it down at all. Really, really important that they're talking about this, okay? So neural networks and deep learning, it seems a little bit all over the place, and that's not an insult. That's just by design, is they're kind of going through the whole piece here. Here's an algorithm. Here's the storage of big data, analytics on big data, the cloud. They're just giving you a feel of everything and a little bit, and I think that's the right way to go. Some readings, data mining and regression, great. Okay. So data science in business, third and final week of the first course. All right, so how data science is saving lives. How should companies get started in data science? These are good questions. Recruiting for data science, a big 7-minute video. That's actually quite nice. And yep, okay. So first course, I'm done with that for now. There are 10 courses. You can clearly see that it's you getting a general vibe as to how data science works and what's going on here. Okay, so tools for data science. So you notice that it has less stars, less ratings than the other one. You'll often see that these kind of things, not necessarily the ratings, but the number of ratings goes down because less and less people get through these things. And also these courses are kind of used for multiple different specializations sometimes. So you'll notice as it goes down, it kind of goes down as well sometimes. Okay, so still a huge number of people got this far, which is very promising. So what are some of the most popular data science tools, how to use them, and what are their features? You'll learn about Jupyter Notebooks, Jupyter Lab. You'll learn about RStudio IDE and Watson Studio. Watson is because they're IBM, basically. So, okay, so Python, R, or SQL, and kind of just get a feel for the various different common data science environments. And then they're going to pick one later, which is the just one choice, but in my opinion, the best choice. Okay, so again, going into the syllabus, we have week 1, the Data Scientist Toolkit. You'll get an overview of the programming languages commonly used, including Python, R, Scala, and whether you're using Python, R, or Scala. In all 3 of them, you will be using SQL as well to pull data from relational databases. These are programming languages. SQL is a query language to get data, which you can call in all 3 of these. Okay, you'll be introduced to the open source and commercial data science tools. And looking at a lot, you can see there's actually a lot more videos now. It's really getting into the nitty gritty. We'll look at Python, look at R, look at SQL. Is there Scala here? I don't see it, but I think there's Scala in there as well. And we look at machine learning models, data sets. Okay, so it's getting a little bit more hands-on. You can see it's before it was kind of just theory and the tools in the first course, but now it's getting into actual skills, open source tools. Okay, so Jupyter, they do a lot about Jupyter. Introduction to RStudio, we do a little bit with RStudio, which is definitely an extremely common tool, but kind of dying. Okay, it's getting a little bit, people are preferring Python nowadays in general. The IBM tools for data science. You'll learn about an enterprise-ready data science platform by IBM called Watson Studio. Guess what? Yeah, not that popular. So this is kind of where IBM is throwing in their IBM stuff as almost a bit of an advertisement, which, you know, I support that from their side. I get that from their side. But, you know, it's kind of like, since we're IBM, we're forcing this upon you a little bit when it's not really that useful unless you're going to work at IBM, okay? So here is where my ratings decrease for it a little bit. Everything else was positive. Here, you know, it's going to go a little bit down when I put, sorry about that, when I talk about the relevant skills / tools, it's going to decrease just a little bit there because, you know, I'm not a big fan of them doing that. Final assignment, create and share your Jupyter notebook. There you go. Okay, so Jupyter, that's what they decide upon in general, and it's a great tool. All right, and you do get a badge here, at least you're reading about the badge, and there's a final exam. Okay, so that's great. Now, course 3, data science methodology. Despite the recent increase in computing power and access to data over the last couple of decades, our ability to use the data within the decision-making process is either lost or not maximized at all too often. We don't have a solid understanding of the questions being asked and how to apply the data correctly to the problem at hand. Okay, so here it has one purpose, and that is to share a methodology that can be used within data science to ensure the data used in problem solving is relevant and properly manipulated. All right, so they're going off about a lot of things here. And here's the main point. We can just look at the syllabus and explain what they're trying to do. So, sorry about that, it's not working. So week 1, from problem to approach, from requirements to collection. All right, so an understanding of the problems in business and how we're trying to solve these in data science in a company. So this is where it's actually really, really good for a job, is because this is the kind of stuff that most courses are not going to touch upon. How is this actually done in a business? And that's when you go to do an internship, you think everything's all proper and great, and then you run into some problems and you don't really know how to do that. So this is where we get data requirements, data collection, business understanding. This stuff is underrated and really important. All of this, I actually love it. Seriously, it might seem like the boring, oh, I don't care about this piece, I would skip this. Don't skip this, okay? Really great. Deployment and feedback in a model. That's awesome as well. Okay, so course 3, really underrated in my opinion. Course 4, here's the one that would excite everybody. Okay, Python for data science, artificial intelligence, and development. All right. So I'm just going to jump right into that one. I have a pretty good feeling of what they're going to write for the description. And sorry, it's always taking a little bit of time to load that. Now, here we go. I don't know why this one looks a little bit different than the others, but okay. So syllabus, Python basics. Notice you're learning Python. You're not learning Python for data science. You're learning Python. That's important. So you're actually going to understand how to code in Python, which is essential. Python data structures, list and tuples, dictionaries. All right, this is great. They need to go over this. So many courses skip over. They're like, oh, we assume you know Python, which is fair. It's a fair assumption. It's not fair to assume that you know Python, but from their side and making a course, it's kind of understandable. But it's so much better when they just, exception handling. This is something totally Python and nothing to do with data science. So I'm very glad that they do this. And practice quizzes to make sure you can actually code in Python. Thank you. Working with data. Okay, so then reading files, writing files, and then, okay, we look at pandas and NumPy. Great. Probably the two most important libraries that are the underlying hood, or under the hood of pretty much everything data science is those. So obviously you wouldn't skip this. This is why you would go in here and get this certificate in general. But yeah, of course, really cool. Okay, this one is just a project. This mini course intended for you to demonstrate your foundational Python skills for working with data. All right, so let's see what they outline right there. So we have crowdsourcing short squeeze dashboard. Okay, HTML for web scraping. It's so awesome that they get so many different skills in here. I love it. Like, an awesome project. Using web scraping is awesome. Okay, so just a great project. There's not really much I can say there. I just really enjoy that you're doing that. Databases and SQL for data science with Python. Okay, so notice that it's not SQL by itself. It is, except you'll see that's so easy to do this with Python or with R or with Scala. It doesn't really matter how the heck you're doing it. But first you need to understand SQL in general for data science. So notice that this is definitely welcome to SQL for data science, meaning yes, they are not going to go over all of the different, like inserting into a database, all this stuff that you would literally not even have the access to use. Like not alone would you not use it. You would literally not have the ability to do this in the company. They would restrict that. So update and delete, they do go over very, very quickly, 2 minutes, 3 minutes about doing this, but that's not the focus. Okay, they're just showing you that it exists. And now it's all about not creating tables. Okay, so actually I take back what I said. All right, so they do go over dropping tables, inserting into tables. And so I'm actually going to put that as a decrease because I don't really see the need to do those things. It's not that it's bad. It seems kind of silly almost that I'm giving them a decrease in grade because they're giving very quick videos on important SQL skills, except it's not necessary for a data science point of view. I really don't think that you need to do a lot of these different functions. It's just not going to come up. So here is where you're actually going to be doing all of this important stuff. String patterns and ranges is just, useful stuff. There's a lot of like nitty gritty functions that you would use in SQL to understand, to actually get the stuff that you want. And graded quizzes to make sure that you know SQL. Subqueries, good. Working with multiple tables. Thank you. Okay, so very, very useful stuff. Accessing databases using Python. All right, so now it's saying, okay, you know the SQL stuff. Let's merge it with Python. How to access databases using Python. Writing code using DB API. Okay, I don't know that term, but that makes sense. Connecting to a database using the IBM database API. Of course, again, every time they do that, I'm sorry, but IBM's not that relevant I'm not saying they're not relevant in the data science space. They're huge in the data science space, except their specific tools are not that widely used. So this kind of annoys me, but using it with Python is a very essential skill. So in general, a huge plus, great course. Data analysis with Python. Okay, so slightly different than databases with Python, performing analysis on data, so actual statistical analysis, creating meaningful data visualizations. That's something that SQL will help you do, but it's not going to do it. It just gets the data for you. So now importing data sets. Okay, so of course there's various different ways of getting data. They're going to do that for you. Data wrangling, probably messing around with cleaning normalization. So it's good they actually explain that concept and what they're doing. Yeah, so this stuff is really the bread and butter of a data scientist is dealing with missing values, pre-processing data, moving it in the format that you want in Python so that you can apply all of the skills that you use pretty much all the time. Like, it's just a matter of knowing what data you might want to use, doing various calculations and manipulations, and they say wrangling, wrangle the data until you get what you want, and then you're good to go. All right, so very important, exploratory data analysis. So group by in Python, correlation statistics, and they even look at some statistics stuff, which is really useful. And they're not going to go into super hardcore stat stuff that my school has made me do. At least I chose to do. But that's great. It gives you a nice overview. Now it's starting to get into basically, you could start to call it machine learning at this point. When we talk about linear regression, multiple linear regression, there is a difference between kind of when people consider it machine learning versus a statistics point of view. This is most likely the statistics point of view where they're solving for parameters via like a matrix calculation. But you can almost consider this machine learning at this point. And of course, model evaluation using visualization. So saying how good your model is with a graph is actually how stuff is done. Surprisingly, you might think that it's all being automated, just giving the best model. Actually, a lot of it's done by hand because there's a lot of fine tuning and just thoughts about the data that people are going to have that the computer won't be able to give you, or at least it's confusing if it does. All about data visualization. A picture is worth 1,000 words. Honestly, yeah. I mean, it doesn't hurt that they put that quote in there to recall that no matter who you're explaining this stuff to, it's so easy. Like, you can make a complex graph in Python or whatever language very, very easily, and it does so much for someone. If you bother to just write that, extra 10 minutes of code to make a pretty graph, like, it's great. And it might not even be 10 minutes. It might be 1 minute to write a good graph. So anyways, an introduction to the visualization tools. So they use Matplotlib. Okay. Canada, that's where I'm from, eh? So Matplotlib is probably it is one of the two most popular graphing libraries. The other one would be Plotly for Python. They're very good. Download Jupyter Notebook, of course. And okay, so basic and specialized visualization tools. So here, okay, another, the other bread and butter of a data scientist is showing this data and explaining it to someone. You do that through area plots, histograms, bar charts, pie charts, box plots, scatter plots. I know what all of those are. They are not going super into depth on all the different type of visualizations, complex stuff you can do. This stuff fits almost every scenario, and you're going to see that histograms in particular, you're going to make a histogram of basically everything. And if not, you're probably doing a scatter plot, and the other ones all have their moments. Advanced visualizations and geospatial data. Okay, geospatial. It's actually very interesting that they're going into that. We do use Seaborn a little bit, Seaborn and regression plots. Okay, Folium, I don't actually know what Folium is. Maps with markers, choropleth maps. I don't even know what some of this stuff is, but I'm sure they're doing it for a reason. Creating dashboards with Plotly and Dash. So there you go. There's the other popular graphing library is Plotly, and Dash is extremely modern. Module overview, great. Practice quiz to make sure you know this stuff. Awesome. Final project in data visualization. I am so happy that they are actually forcing an entire project on visualization itself. It's so overlooked sometimes, and it's going to get you in the habit. It's going to give you that raise at your company over someone else. It's going to, when employers want to look at your online portfolio, they look at a graph that you made. It just, people understand it so much better than looking at code or whatever the heck it is. So now here we really consider actual machine learning with Python. All right, so I will see reviewing two main components. First, you'll be learning about the purpose of machine learning and how it applies to the real world. Second, you will get a general overview. So notice they're saying general overview of machine learning topics such as supervised versus unsupervised, model evaluation, and machine learning algorithms. Okay, so the recommendation engine, very important. Cancer detection, so binary classification or multi-class classification. Economic trends, predicting customer churn. Okay, so a variety of problems. They give you a lot of exposure to understanding, what different techniques a data scientist uses, such as regression, classification, clustering, and the libraries that are going to be doing that, which is, the SciPy stack, which just means NumPy, Pandas, that kind of thing. Scikit-learn as well. Yeah. Okay, so this is going to be, again, one of the things that everybody's really looking forward to when they jump into this. And let's see why. So in the syllabus, we have Introduction to Machine Learning. So just kind of understanding in general what these different terms are. It's very important to understand this one in particular. Regression, okay? So you'll learn about linear, nonlinear, simple, multiple linear regression, and how to evaluate your model. It's true, actually, regression is very useful. So they deserve a full chapter or full week on this material. Thank you. Classification. Okay, so you practice with different classification algorithms such as k-nearest neighbors, decision trees, logistic regression, and SVM. All right, so you'll notice these are all very popular. You likely have heard of these terms before. Some of them are a little bit old school in my opinion, and they probably know this. A neural network could probably do better than all of these things. Okay, most likely it could. You'll learn about the pros and cons of each and different classification accuracy metrics. Okay, so yeah, here, 7-minute video on evaluation methods. This is going to be a huge one in answering data science interviews. Okay, so being able to understand how you classify or how you can explain the error in your model is really important, both from a business standpoint. How would you explain this to your boss, as well as how would you explain this to the person you're training the model with? Clustering, okay, they give a whole week to clustering. K-means, hierarchical, DB-scan, great stuff. Most courses are not going to go over this much depth on clustering. It's very underrated, and I'm very happy they do. Recommender systems, again, something really, really underrated in my opinion, which is, Amazon, Netflix, whatever, they have an amazing system that is able to know what you want based off what you've done before. They're going to explain some ways of doing this, and I just, it's great. It's so great. And a final project, of course, optional signing up for a Watson Studio account. That's probably a decline. Optional sharing notebooks in Watson Studio, probably also a decline. Okay, so you don't need to do that. And congrats, because this is a really important one. You get through a lot of really, really good material here. But notice not once did they say the word neural network. Okay, so what is the last course here? Applied Data Science Concepts, or data science capstone. Okay, so we don't really go into deep learning. Okay, they might talk about what a neural network is, except you don't really use them. Here we have the final course is Applied Data Science Capstone. So the big project, which is Introduction to Capstone, getting data, Foursquare API, okay. Yeah, some API. Neighborhood segmentation and clustering. Okay, so they're going to get you to do some clustering. Finish it off with a really, really strong project where you're trying to kind of bring everything that you learned all together. So now I'm going to go over the various ratings, relevant skills / tools, presentation, popularity. I can fill all this out now. The one thing that we didn't see in presentation was the instructor, but I can promise you the instructor is probably a 9, 10 out of 10. The main part of the presentation that we learned here is through the organization of the material. So relevant skills / tools, well, it's Python, so huge. They talk about R, and they talk about the stuff that's also being used, but then they choose the path that I think is correct. So I think that in itself is a 10 out of 10, but they throw in some IBM direct stuff almost as an advertisement, and so I'm going to drop it to a 9 out of 10. All right, so still a really, really high rating. Presentation is very good. Short videos, very easy to understand, and I would put presentation as probably a 9.5. I reserve an instructor of 10 out of 10 rating for Andrew Ng in the machine learning and deep learning specialization. It's still really good though. Popularity, I'll do just a double check here to make sure I give this the right rating, but extremely high ratings. A lot of people have taken it. I know that employers know this thing, just because it's not like I've seen higher ratings for sure, even though this is very high. So I'm going to put that as a 9 out of 10 as well. Okay, so in general, I have like basically a 9.2 is a very, very high rating for this specialization. Again, link in the description, pick it up yourself if you want it. And it's not that expensive. I think it's a great option. So highly recommend, and drop a subscribe if you're not subscribed. Please like the video and let me know what you want to see. Okay, I want this table to fill up over time. I want to see, as quick as you want. I'll try to whatever material you want me to review. I hope you liked this video. Let me know, and I will see you in the next one.